One publicity stunt was to put a woman behind the wheel. Her name was Louise Smith, 30 years old, from Greenville, South Carolina. Louise's driving had earned her a reputation with the local sheriff, but she'd never been to a racetrack in her life.
They wanted some lady to drive, and they said, well, we only got one crazy woman here that'll drive.
Well, Louise Smith had to be one of the toughest women in the world because she jumped into this thing when it was just about as rough and tough as you could get.
Louise ran her first race with only the sketchiest understanding of the rules.
I didn't even know what the checker flag meant. The man that owned the car said, if you see a red flag, stop. And I never did see no red flag. I seen all the cars go out in the infield, and I wondered where they were going, me still out there running. So they had to give me the red flag, get me off the speedway, and I was the only one out there still running.
When she went out there, the drivers did not like it. They didn't like a woman out there on a racetrack.
Oh yeah, I've been knocked out a few times. Sometimes they'd get kind of ornery, but they didn't bother me too much. I got where I was pretty good. In fact, they said I was the best on the track. Just stay out of my way, that if I got close enough to bump them, you could cut them and flip. If you hit them just right, they're gone.
By the mid-60s, stock car racing had become big business, with corporate sponsors and $100,000 purses.
Which one? There they come in the deep part of the fourth turn now.
Detroit's Big Three knew the value of having their cars win at Charlotte, Daytona, or Darlington.
We went nuts. Henry Ford was an enthusiast of all kinds of racing, so we decided once I could sell him on something, I could do anything. We got as high in 1 year spending $35 million budgeted for racing. I mean, think of that in dollars 30 years ago. What that'd be today, 100 million plus. And we decided that we wanted to win every race man had ever put together, from the 24 Hours of Le Mans to the Indianapolis Speedway, to the stock car races on Sunday, to the drag races. We won everything. We used to say, race on Sunday, sell on Monday. And in the South, that was true.
Not only did fans love the look of a winner, they wanted a car that went as fast as the one at the track. Detroit was happy to feed the fever, offering high-performance cars with macho names like Eliminator, Cobra, and Barracuda. And they turned them loose on a young public that had only one question: how fast will it go?
You could order up a racing car. I want this body style, I want this engine, I want a 4-speed transmission, I want these wheels and tires. And not only could you buy it, it was under warranty. So you go out and blow it up, and then they'd have to replace all the parts that you destroyed.
They were called muscle cars, and they sold like gangbusters until insurance rates and emissions regulations killed them off.
I mean, can you imagine today being able to buy a 200-mile-an-hour car? Be unheard of. But you could.
I laughed. It was a funny-looking little thing. We thought it was no competition.
In Pacific, Missouri, Richard Winkler rides herd on his cattle. without riding the horse. He rides a bug.
I laughed. That was a funny looking little thing.
I call it a pregnant roller skate.
And the ride is...
I feel like going up and kicking it in the side. It's not a car.
The popularity of the Volkswagen Beetle was that it was an anti-car. I mean, it became popular because it was a counter car.
We thought it was no competition, but it didn't go away.
The Volkswagen Beetle was one of the most revolutionary cars of all time. It was homely, it was puny, and it embodied an idea that ran counter to everything Detroit stood for. Less is more. To drive that message home, VW launched an ad campaign that was clever and irreverent.
The Volkswagen is one of the tallest cars in the world, so there's more than enough headroom, even for the little woman.
Here is a brand new 1968 Volkswagen. How many changes can you find? You have 10 seconds. Look it over. Don't miss a thing, Gino. Every little detail may count.
Hood locks, seats, and shock absorbers. And for all these years of testing and improving the Volkswagen, we ask a mere $17.80. Never before.
You know, the Beetle advertising was genius, if there ever was genius, because it said, you know, buy me, I'm cheap, I look just like last year's model, we don't change from year to year. And to a growing number of people, this was tremendously appealing. I mean, because they were tired of what they considered to be Detroit flim-flam.
The VW's body was so tight, it would float. The engine, on the other hand, needed no water at all. It was air-cooled. The Bug never boiled over, never froze, and it could go weeks between fill-ups.
Its price was the big thing. All my friends were buying it because of its cost. And it ran forever for nothing, and it was kind of a fun thing to have.
Bugs were perfect for families buying another car for the kids, for college professors making a statement, and for anyone wanting basic transportation. The Volkswagen Beetle eventually became the best-selling car of all time, even beating out Henry Ford's Model T. In the beginning, Detroit paid little attention to the Volkswagen, but the Japanese followed their every move. In 1957, Los Angeles was host to America's first imported auto show. The two Japanese cars on display surprised everyone, Toyota's Bluebird and Datsun's Fairlady. As one person remarked, I didn't know the Japanese even made cars.
The early Japanese cars were bizarre and ugly. I mean, double ugly.
And their performance matched their looks. The Datsun Fairlady boasted an engine with a whopping 37 horsepower. Just getting the car up a hill was an ordeal. The car also had bad brakes, severe vibration, and other assorted quirks. It did get good gas mileage, but with gasoline at 30 cents a gallon, no one much cared. Nissan, who made the car, knew they'd have to fix the Datsun's most obvious shortcomings. So engineers spent weeks driving the tiny car up and down the Los Angeles freeways.
And it was finally while they were driving one and experimenting and upgrading it, when they beat a VW on a hill, that they knew they could do it. The VW was the target. And they just kept coming. The cars kept getting better. The performance was better. They learned very quickly. The learning curve was very short for them.